Hey everyone! Before we begin today's video, I just want to let you know that I've got an announcement to make. To celebrate the month of my birth, I'm hosting a subscriber giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be publicly subscribed to my channel for a chance to win a month's free patron access, which means all my content early, as well as access to all the parts of my patron exclusive series, What If Ash Used His Old Pokemon? Entries close at 11:59 PM on August 31st AEST, and if you subscribe to both channels, you get 2 entries in the competition. So what are you waiting for? A month's worth of free and early content is just a click away. At Scott's pronouncement of a Frontier Brain tournament, all eyes fall upon the sunglasses-clad man, with him grinning that he's had this whole shebang planned for a really long time, and it's going to be a spectacle unlike anything they've ever seen. He then looks as though he's going to say more, though when the man who Ash assumes to be Paul's brother clears his throat, the Frontier boss stops himself, saying that Reggie's right. He doesn't want to spoil the surprise, at least not until all the brains are present. He then bids them all farewell, though not before instructing them to rendezvous at Palmer's Battle Tower, since that's where the tournament begins. And just like that, Scott departs, leaving Ash, Annabelle, Palmer, Brandon, Paul, and Reggie alone in the pyramid. At once, Paul makes a beeline for his brother, stating that he finally did it. He beat Brandon, and became a Frontier Brain just like Reggie always wanted. However, instead of pride, the man with the ponytail simply asks at what cost, deep disappointment in his eyes and tone. Meanwhile, Ash and Annabelle have made their way over to Brandon, greeting their fellow Kanto Brain and asking how he's faring after that loss. Stoic as ever, Brandon replies he had hoped that making Paul fight his way through the other brains might have helped him through his misplaced anger, similar to how he tried to guide Ash away from his own hubris during his Frontier run. However, it seems this was overly optimistic, so now he will have to wait and see if victory might be the closure the purple-haired boy needed. Stubbornly, Ash retorts that he's not about to just wait around and see what happens, since after what Paul's put Chimchar through, he needs to be taught a lesson. Smiles slightly curving the corners of his lips, Brandon comments that he had a feeling his young colleague would say something like that, adding that he sees a lot of similarities between Ash and Paul, so perhaps he's the only one who can set him straight. He then heads over to speak with Palmer, with Ash turning to Annabelle and asking if she at least agrees with him, to which the lilac-haired girl nods, saying that during that battle, she used her empathic powers to check on Chimchar once more, and from what she felt, Chimchar's deterioration has only gotten worse since her battle with Paul a few weeks back. Looking troubled, Ash asks what exactly that means, with Annabelle grimly replying that to put it bluntly, if Paul doesn't change his ways soon, Chimchar will die. This news hangs heavily over Ash for the rest of the day, with the young Junction Master barely speaking as he and Annabelle set about looking for a way to get to the Battle Tower, having been informed by Palmer about the location of his facility during their trip to Snowpoint. Fortunately, they are soon able to come across a ferry headed for the small island to the east, and so book passage, agreeing to meet back here in the morning. It seems the other brains have their own means of transport, as Ash and Annabelle are the only ones to catch the ferry the next day, though when they arrive on the battle zone a day later, they are not the only brains present, spotting their 5 Kanto colleagues, as well as 5 new faces, who are speaking with Palmer and Paul. Approaching the Sinnoh brains, Ash and Annabelle introduce themselves, in turn getting to know Thornton, Dahlia, Derek, Caitlin, and Argenta, all of whom seem excited to participate in the tournament. Well, almost all of them, as Caitlin loudly comments that she had planned to take a nap today, before Scott had dragged her out to this island. As if he had heard her, or perhaps because he'd been waiting for everyone to arrive, Scott chooses this moment to descend on the back of his ho-oh, greeting everyone and welcoming them to the Frontier Championship. He then begins to explain the rules, saying that this tournament will be rather unique, as the entire island of the battle zone will be their battlefield, with them battling it out in a series of single elimination battles until there is only one brain left standing. Curiously, Lucy asks how matchups are determined, with Scott grinning that he's glad she asked. There will be no designated pairings, with this being a complete free-for-all, meaning any brain can challenge any other, regardless of which region they represent. However, to help them find opponents, he has had his people specially modify a series of Poketches, so they'll show a map of the island, with little dots to represent each brain who is still active in the tournament. Though this isn't the only neat thing they can do, as they can also be used to issue challenges and transfer in any Pokemon the wearer possesses, similar to the transfer machine in the Battle Junction. The brains should choose carefully who they transfer in though, since each battle is a 1v1, so a bad choice could end their tournament run before it even begins. He then starts handing out the devices, while informing his employees of the final 2 rules. The first is that since this island is full of high-level wild Pokemon, they are free to capture them and use them in the tournament if they wish. And the second is they should remember to put on their game faces, since this whole tournament is being televised to raise awareness for the Battle Frontier. At these words, Ho-Oh takes off into the sky, followed by a fleet of Jameros, signaling the start of the tournament, causing Ash to immediately scan around for Paul, though it seems the purple-haired youth has already brought out a Honchkrow and taken to the air, not wanting to let the other boy get away. way, Ash activates his new Poketch and uses the transfer function to have Pidgeot sent over before he and Pikachu scramble onto the big bird's back and give chase. Due to it still being fairly early in the day, the cloud cover is still quite low, resulting in Ash soon losing sight of Paul. Figuring that his Poketch's map will come in handy here, Ash looks down at the little screen, though to his dismay, there is no way of telling who Paul is, as it seems almost every brain has begun to scatter, seeking out old rivals or terrain where their Pokemon and battling style will have an edge. Taking a guess that the nearest dot will be Paul, Ash decides to follow it, hanging a left and soon surmising that it must be heading for that big mountain range near the battle tower. Ducking below the clouds, Ash sees that the person he is tailing is not in fact Paul, but someone on a Togekiss, though before he can change course, his Poketch beeps, informing him that he has been challenged by Arcade Star Dahlia, and asking if he'd like to transfer in any Pokemon. Briefly, Ash weighs his options until he hears a voice above the whipping winds, that of Dahlia, as she calls out asking if he'd like an aerial battle since they both already have their flyers here. Seeing this as a fun challenge and a chance to do something he doesn't have much experience with, Ash happily accepts, causing Dahlia to grin that she knew it'd be cool, before teasing that she just hopes he won't cry when he loses, since her Togekiss is #1 in the air. She then attempts to prove this with a high-speed charge, which sees her flying omelette rake its wing along Pidgeot's underbelly before making a sharp turn to fire a point-blank aura sphere at its back. This causes Pidgeot to squawk in pain, but having faced worse, it quickly rights itself and retaliates with a gust attack which buffets Dahlia and Togekiss, as the Arcade Star laughs that it seems Ash battles just like her, hit him fast and hit him hard. Good, since she hates battling eggheads who overthink everything and don't know how to go with the flow. Smiling now too, Ash replies that he knows the feeling, then after telling Pikachu to hold on tight, gives his next command, Wing Attack. Dahlia tells her fly to do likewise, and at once the two speedy avians soar at each other, their wings clashing like jousting lances, before Togekiss is sent flipping forward mid-air, having clearly lost this little duel. Gripping tight to her Pokemon, Dahlia praises that Ash is the real deal alright, but let's see how he does at a distance. She then rises to her feet on Togekiss's back, telling it to use Hyper Beam, and without hesitation, the Jubilee Pokemon fires off a large orange burst of energy, which flies right at Ash, Pikachu, and Pidgeot. Patting Pidgeot's flank, Ash asks if it's ready, with the bird Pokemon trilling confidently, before it takes off, going from 0 to Mark 3 in a matter of seconds. In the face of such overwhelming speed, not only does Togekiss not have a chance to adjust its aim to strike Pidgeot, but it cannot even move before it is struck with a super-powered wing attack. If this were not enough to take it out, what follows certainly would be, as a moment later, the sound of that impact catches up with Pidgeot, taking the form of a sonic boom, which blasts Togekiss into unconsciousness, while also sending Dahlia flying off into the open air. Exhibiting a bit more of that incredible speed, Pidgeot is able to catch her though, before similarly grabbing Togekiss in its claws so that it does not hit the ground. Giving her thanks to Ash and Pidgeot, Dahlia concedes the match, causing her dot to vanish on the map as she asks the pair to put her and Togekiss down on that nearby mountain range. Happily complying, Ash does so, before recalling Pidgeot since it deserves a break after that battle. Playfully telling the boy not to make her look bad by losing to anyone else, Dahlia follows suit, returning Togekiss to its ball, then beginning to walk back to the battle tower to watch the rest of the matches in comfort. As she goes, Ash looks around, seeing if any of the other brains are within sight so he can challenge them. To his pleasant surprise, he does see someone ducking into a cave further down the mountain, and though he doesn't recognize who it is from his fleeting glance, he figures it wouldn't hurt to follow and get a closer look. Sliding to the cave entrance, Ash and Pikachu step inside, being surprised at how clearly they can see in here thanks to the veins of magma running through the walls, which act almost like natural lamps. Following the sound of footsteps in the distance, Ash soon discovers the person he is following is not Paul or any of the other Frontier brains. In fact, it's not even one person, it's a trio of shady-looking people carrying a glowing reddish-orange stone that looks like lava made solid. Having figured everyone else had been cleared off the island for the tournament, Ash asks what they're doing here, with the sound of his voice alerting the ne'er-do-wells, causing their seeming leader to bark at the other two to hang back and drive off this brat, while he uses the magma stone to bring Heatran under his control. At once, the subordinate pair break off, while the leader advances, bringing out a stun tank and Parugly, though even combined, they are no match for Pikachu, who blasts them both with Thunderbolt, allowing Ash to press forward. Taking off at a run now, Ash and Pikachu attempt to close in on the man, though to their dismay, when they step into a chamber filled with lava near the back of the mountain, they find him holding the stone aloft, as he orders Heatran to come forth and serve him. A second later, a Pokemon unlike Ash has ever seen before bursts from beneath the surface of the lava, climbing up the wall of the cavern like some sort of spider, before dropping down to stand between Ash and his target. Up close, Ash sees that like the stone the man is holding, it appears to be a creature made of magma, though with pieces of steely armor around its head and feet. There is a majestic radiance to the way this creature glows, all except its eyes, which remain dull, as if something is clouding them. Cackling arrogantly, the man with the magma stone states that Heatran's first order as his loyal thrall is to destroy this interfering brat and his Pikachu. And though for a moment the beast looks hesitant, when the magma stone pulses, it complies, firing off a heat wave which Ash and Pikachu have to leap out of the way to avoid, resulting in a thick stalagmite just behind where the pair was standing being reduced to a molten puddle in an instant. Taking this as their warning of how strong Heatran is, Ash and Pikachu ready themselves, though truthfully, Ash doesn't want to hurt the Lava Dome Pokemon, seeing as how it isn't really trying to hurt them. To this end, he begins formulating a plan for how to get the stone from the bad guy, figuring once he does that, Heatran will stop attacking. Unfortunately, Ash isn't given much time to strategize, as in its master's command, Heatran begins levitating large chunks of scalding stone and hurling them at the heroes, forcing Ash to do what he does best, adapt. Looking to his buddy, he tells him to use Iron Tails and Thunderbolts, anything it takes to hold Heatran at bay without hurting it, while he'll take the other guy. Nodding determinedly, Pikachu begins a barrage of bolts, exploding the stones in midair, not only proving his might to be equal to that of Heatran's, but also clearing Ash a path to charge headlong at the villain. Letting out a roar of indignation, the old man declares that this impudent brat has no place interfering with his genius. Though with a growl, Ash retorts that no one can call themselves a genius if they mistreat Pokemon, before barreling into the baddie and causing them both to tumble over. This also sends the Magma Stone flying into the air, with the pair both scrambling to their feet and attempting to catch it. Having longer legs, the man quickly gets a lead on Ash, with it seeming like he'll be the one to recover his prize, though Ash is not out of tricks yet, as with a cry he asks Pikachu to help him out. Being in perfect sync with his trainer, Pikachu abandons his current strategy of batting away rocks, instead using Quick Attack to leap from Flying Stone to Flying Stone, until he is close enough to the Magma Stone that he can strike it with an Iron Tail, sending it shooting back towards Ash, who takes a running leap and catches it. Letting out an anguished roar, the old man snarls that a mere child cannot hope to control the raw power of Heatran, though in a firm tone, Ash replies that he isn't going to control Heatran, he's going to free it. He then hurls the Magma Stone at the cave floor, causing the glowing rock to shatter into a million pieces, and the luster to at last return to Heatran's eyes. Now with nothing to hold it back, the blazing beast rounds on its former master, fury on its face. Desperately, the old man tries to intimidate Heatran, commanding it to yield to his superior will, though this attempted dominance is somewhat undercut by the eruption of a fiery geyser directly beneath him, which sends him shooting through the cave roof, with his bum on fire. With the original intruder now gone, Heatran next turns his molten eyes on Ash and Pikachu, though when Ash gives it a smile, thanking it for getting rid of the bad guy and asking if it's okay, the Heat Dome Pokemon reciprocates the gesture, trudging up to the boy and rubbing its armored face against his side. From behind him, Ash then hears a familiar voice, that of Annabelle, as she grins that it looks like Ash has made a new friend, before adding that she managed to apprehend the two women as they were fleeing, with Espeon currently escorting them to the island's officer Jenny. Thanking her for the assist, Ash prepares to go, bidding Annabelle and Heatran goodbye, though before he can, his Pokédex beeps, stating he has been issued a challenge by Salon Maiden Annabelle. While still with that grin on her face, Annabelle reminds her compatriot they are still in the middle of a tournament. Allowing a smile to form on his own lips, Ash accepts the challenge, though before he can cycle through his roster, Annabelle makes a request, saying she'd like to have a battle with Heatran if that's possible. Not wanting to make Heatran do anything it doesn't want, Ash looks to the Fire Steel type, asking if it would be okay with this, to which Heatran rumbles in the affirmative, giving Ash another smile as it trudges over to stand between him and Annabelle. Looking a little sheepish, the Salon Maiden then says that she hates to keep making requests, but she does have one more. Can they please have this battle outside, since she's sweating like a grumpig in here? A few minutes later, the group of Ash, Pikachu, Annabelle and Heatran find themselves standing on a rocky plateau outside Stark Mountain, ready to begin their battle. With Espeon off escorting the crooks, Ash asks who his friend is going to use, with Annabelle grinning that actually, he hasn't met this Pokemon yet, since she caught it after her loss to him during his Battle Frontier run. This only excites Ash more, asking what it is, to which Annabelle enigmatically answers that it's a perfect rival for Heatran, before using her Pokédex to summon an Ultra Ball, which she tosses to bring forth the legendary beast of thunder, Raikou. Landing gracefully, Raikou lets out a roar like a thunderclap, though even still, Ash and Heatran are undeterred, with Ash whipping out his Pokédex and quickly learning Heatran's moves. He then takes the first move, calling for an Earth Power, though being faster, Raikou is easily able to pounce away from the erupting geyser, before hitting back with an extra sensory, which while ineffective, still does some damage to Heatran. Worriedly, Ash asks if the Heat Dome Pokemon is okay, though staying strong, it nods, then on his command, fires back a prolonged heat wave, which quickly heats the entire air, making it inescapable, and paying Raikou back for the psychic attack. Grinning, Annabelle then asks Ash if they're done warming up, to which the young Junction Master nods, causing both Pokemon to shift into high gear. As one, the two Frontier Brains then call for their strongest moves, Magma Storm for Heatran and Zap Cannon for Raikou, with the blasts of lava and electricity clashing in midair as both Pokemon attempt to show dominance. However, just as Raikou is the superior one in terms of speed, so is Heatran when it comes to mastery of its element, with a torrent of bubbling magma breaking through the bolts and scalding the cat who hisses in fury. Wanting to retaliate, Annabelle has it respond with Thunder Fang. There was fearsome electricity crackles in Raikou jaw. Ash has Heatran meet it with Stone Edge. Like in the Magma Chamber, large stone chunks then begin soaring at Raikou, and while he's able to reduce the first few pebbles by chomping down on them, this is not sustainable, with the rocks soon burying the Sabertooth. Sadly, this is not the worst of it for Annabelle, as now that Raikou cannot move, it is helpless against the super effective earth power forming beneath its feet, so that when the eruption occurs, it along with the massive stones is sent crashing into the side of Stark Mountain, before rolling back down to the plateau where it lies unconscious, ending the Battle of Legends and Annabelle's run in the Frontier Championship. Recalling Raikou with her thanks, Annabelle congratulates Ash and Heatran on their victory, smiling they're a formidable pair, and that if Ash were to catch the Heat Dome Pokemon, it would be a great addition to the Battle Junction's roster, since he doesn't yet have a Steel type. Smiling too, Ash agrees that would be cool, though it seems the most enthusiastic one is Heatran, who nudges Ash's side again, as if asking what he's waiting for. Smilingly growing, Ash asks if the Fire Steel type is sure, then when it rumbles its affirmation, he pulls out a Pokeball and catches it, adding the legendary Pokemon to his team. Following this capture, Ash parts way with Annabelle, heading back down the mountain to seek out his next challenger, though he isn't left to wait for long, as before he can even make it onto Route 226, he sees Paul and Chimchar waiting for him. Wasting no time with preamble, Paul states that he saw Ash's battle with Annabelle, and so demands that Ash bring out Heatran so he can face it too. But with a cold look in his eyes, Ash refuses, stating that all Paul respects is power, and while Heatran is powerful, he wants to show Paul a different kind of power, one he and another friend earned together born of trust and mutual respect. He then adds this Pokemon once had a trainer like Paul, and when it left him and actually found a trainer who loved it for who it is, not what it can do, that's when it truly reached its full potential, something his Chimchar will never achieve while it's being treated like dirt. He then taps his Poketch, manifesting a ball which he throws into the air, revealing Charizard. Dismissively, Paul retorts that he already beat that loser lizard, but still resolute, Ash replies that in that case, he should have no problem doing so again, without that quite effective Stone Edge this time. Never one to back down, Paul agrees that he will, and so the ideological rematch begins. Taking the first move this time, Ash calls for a flamethrower, while Paul, having forced Chimchar into its unbridled blaze state, does likewise, with the two moves clashing in mid-air. For the most part, it seems they are comparable in power, though there is one key difference. This is Chimchar's ceiling, while Charizard is just getting warmed up. To prove this, Ash calls for overheat, with Charizard's flamethrower being replaced by an orange orb, which cuts through Chimchar's torrent of flame as if it were nothing, before striking it head-on and sending it soaring into the air with a squeal. Landing hard on its back, Chimchar groans in pain, though savagely Paul barks it to get back up, with the Manic Monkey doing exactly that, its pink eyes still alight with rage as it employs a flamewheel to fly into the air, screaming as it does. Bellowing ferociously, Charizard meets this with a Steel Wing, and though it's not as decisive as Overheat, it does manage to break through Chimchar's assault, knocking it out of the wheel and leaving it exposed to a Dragon Breath that sends it plunging back down to the ground. As this happens, Ash and Paul both notice that several Chimeras are watching them, taking footage of the battle from different angles. Checking a hunch, Ash takes a look at his Poketch, with it confirming that he and Paul are the last two brains in this competition, meaning not only will this be the place where one of them proves the validity of their ideals, but it will also be the match to determine who is the winner of this tournament. With a hint of pride, Ash informs Paul of this, though it seems the purple-haired boy doesn't want to know, instead asking how Charizard is so much stronger than last time. Confidently, Ash replies that it's not. The difference is him. He's grown as a trainer and learned from his mistakes, while Paul hasn't, though hopefully, by the time this battle is over, that will have changed. He then orders another flamethrower, which douses Chimchar, causing the smaller fire type to stagger a bit as it gets to its feet, some of the gusto having left it. Nonetheless, on Paul's command, it lets loose another flamethrower of its own, while from the other side of the field, Ash tells Charizard to do the same. Like the first one, this proves to be a stalemate, even with Charizard having lost a bit of firepower due to overheat. Knowing about this drawback, Paul yells at Chimchar to end things, with the chimp trying its best, terror in its screeches. Subsequently, the flames of this flamethrower grow significantly bigger, though even still, they cannot break through, with Ash informing Paul that Chimchar's at its limit, and that he pushed it too far, whereas he and Charizard have energy to spare. He then tells his Firestar to show Paul the power of their bond, and with another bellow, Charizard obeys, creating a pillar of flame 3 times the size of Chimchar's, consuming the monkey and its attack, while even causing Paul's hair and clothes to whip around from the massive amount of heat radiating from the move. When it fades, Chimchar is unconscious on the ground, having curled into a fetal position at the last moment to protect itself, while in contrast, Charizard looks as strong as ever, as it lands beside Ash, receiving a hug from its trainer, and playfully blasting him with flamethrower in response. It is only now that Ash turns his attention to Paul, who is staring at his Pokemon hollow-eyed, the true weight of this loss hitting him all at once, as he is forced to accept not only has his ideology been proven false, but it has happened in front of the whole world. Approaching the purple-haired boy with Charizard by his side, Ash tells Paul that this was always going to happen sooner or later, since while he was able to draw out a great deal of power from Chimchar, he did it in the wrong way, by forcing it beyond what its body is capable of handling, and worse, by using fear to trigger that change. While this could work in the short term, it stunted Chimchar's capacity to grow, just like it stunted him as a trainer, while in contrast, he and Charizard have limitless potential, due to them growing together as partners and as friends. He then looks at Chimchar's dwindling tail flame, and in a sad but firm voice, says this might be Paul's last chance to learn this lesson, before it's too late for both him and Chimchar. So unless he wants that, it's time to take a long, hard look inside, and reconsider what the real path he should be on is. For a moment, no one speaks. Then, in a gruff tone, Paul concedes that this battle has given him food for thought at the very least. He then returns Chimchar to its ball, and though he cannot confirm it, Ash thinks he has a bit more respect in the other boy's voice, as he tells his fire monkey they need to get to Nurse Joy. Still silent, Ash watches the pair go, making a mental note to keep an eye on his rival moving forward, as while this is not the complete ideological shift he'd been hoping for, he can see the seeds of change already taking root in the other boy, and for that he is hopeful, not only for Paul's sake, but for Chimchar's too. He then receives a buzz on his Poketch, with it being a notification that as the winner of the tournament, he is required back at the battle tower. Hitching a ride on Charizard's back, Ash soon finds himself in the tower's courtyard, where all the other Frontier brains are assembled. Here Scott presents the young Junction Master with a handshake and a trophy, naming him the Champion Brain, and congratulating him on his achievement. However, this is not the only prize Ash has won, as with a grin, Scott tells Ash that if he wants it, he is entitled to take part in an exhibition match against him. Seeing this as the chance he wanted to face Scott's Ho-Oh again, Ash eagerly accepts, with the other brains applauding, as the Frontier boss grins widely, stating he knew he could count on Ash, and promising they will make this a battle no one ever forgets. And that's where we'll leave things. What Pokemon will Ash bring to his rematch with Scott? Will they allow him to overcome the power of a man who stands above all the other Frontier brains? And can our young hero finally surpass the legendary Pokemon he met on the very first day of his journey? Find out as the journey continues.